So, with that, let's talk about the CV rocket change. I haven't really played carriers much since, so I can't really speak to this change from a carrier player that much, which, again, I think it's great that you're here, Ahskance. I can speak to it as a destroyer player, and as a destroyer player, I have found two things with this rocket change. One, I feel much more comfortable having a carrier on my team in ranked. But two, I still find that I'm very highly dependent on the skill level of my carrier versus the skill level of the enemy carrier in terms of the outcome of the battle. So has it leveled that? Maybe, but I don't feel like it's changed it that much. That's my perspective. The rest of you guys in chat, feel free to share your perspective. And Ahskance, what's yours?
I was contacted by the FDR. He was wondering what I was talking about the rocket thing. So,
Tell him to come to the stream and you can listen in. I don't know.
It's been interesting. The backlash has been surprising, with how many people were voicing concern about it. But there are people that after, a few days, they've already started to acclimate. So you have to assume after a few weeks, people are going to acclimate more. But it is doing exactly what you would assume the change is intended to do, which is to make CV players stop running around trying to Goomba stomp DDs and actually attack other stuff, because they just don't have the ability to rip into a destroyer the same way they did before.
Right.
So I think it's a success. It might feel awkward, but I actually did something on my stream where I went into midway and I took the Tiny Tims, and you lead the Tiny Tims by 5 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And then I lifted off with the torpedoes, and I went in and you lead the torpedoes by 7 seconds. So if you were ever hitting something with torpedoes, you actually led more with those than you do with the Tiny Tims. So it's okay. It's just something people are going to have to learn.
So when you were playing the midway, these past few battles, were you using the Tiny Tims?
I thought I was, but no, it ended up being HFAR, so I forgot. But I don't actually think I shot at a DD. I bombed a DD, but I never actually took rocket shots at one.
Huh.
I mean, that's perfectly the thing, right? You can hit those rockets into battleships and slow as cruisers, but that 5-second lead time against the destroyer. The main thing here is, if that destroyer is not spotted by other means, and your planes are the ones that's spotting them, you have actually zero chance of actually landing that rocket, because the moment you spot the destroyer, you just don't have the time to actually land the drop. You will just fly over him.
Right. Now,
the Audacious is a little different because you can spot a DD and take the shot, but I think the British line is the only one that can do that now.
Depends on the direction the destroyer is moving. If it's coming towards you, no. If it's going away from you, probably depending on the air concealment. I doubt you could do it against something like a Kagero or something. It's just too stealthy. But you probably have a chance of attacking a French destroyer with it, or a Russian one.
Now that happened to me in what was I was in the Schultz, actually, and
Terrible air concealment.
it was the Immelman, and I was stationary, so I was just starting to move forward, and he saw me and was able to click on me quickly enough and get resets on me. But again, I was stationary.
Doesn't have rockets.
What?
The Immelman doesn't have rockets.
It was the Richthofen then. I'm sorry. It was the tier 10 German. I mix those up sometimes. But he was able to hit me because I was stationary. If I was moving forward, he probably couldn't hit me, right?
Yeah, somebody asked me on stream what's the CV's best weapon against DDs now? And I thought about it, and it kind of felt like a trick question, because there's not so many options, but realistically the answer is teammates. Because if a teammate is doing something against the DD, you can help. If you're doing something to help a teammate deal with the DD, that's how the interaction is now. So your best weapon is your team, not you.
Which kind of sucks, right? Because you have no guarantee that your team is actually going to shoot it. You might just end up wasting a lot of time.
Right.
Trade off of the class.
I'm gonna say that's how the interaction always should have been. It was just easier with the old rockets because if you had teammates that just didn't care, you could at least deal with the situation a little bit easier than you can now with the rocket change. But it's always been just spotting the bastard and hope to God a teammate shoots it and kills it.
Yeah, look at it this way though. Like, are they actually shooting it? Like, you're investing your like precious time. I'm all accelerating here a little bit, but you have no guarantee that it's outcome. It's kind of comparable to if you look at a random radar cruiser. How often do you get a random radar cruiser in a battle that is sitting behind an island to use the radar when he can't actually shoot himself?
Well, and we kind of saw that with my Tone review earlier, right? I kept Akita Kaze lit in ranked, and because my teammates shot at him, we were able to kill him, right? And hey, cool. We won the game because of that. Now, because I was spotting him instead of using my guns or even dropping the torpedoes, I didn't do as much damage, which meant my base XP went down. So that's, I think, one of the hardest parts and the trade-offs for players to pick and understand is what matters more, the win or the damage? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't disagree that it shouldn't be that way. It's just like you're not guaranteed to get the win. Like,
Right. Because you have to depend on your team to do something.
I just want to say, like, I was playing Hakuryu, and Hakuryu, she's a mean CV, no joke. But if you're trying to torp the cruiser, and the cruiser doesn't have battleship guns or teammate guns, the cruiser just spins in a circle, you don't torp the cruiser. All you do is miss, because they just turn. Unless it's an extremely sluggish cruiser. So if you want to interact with the cruiser, you need teammates so that you can have the angle to do the thing. So with DDs, it's even more extreme. But like, this is already something that's baked in.
You can set up cross drops with a Hakuryu into cruisers, force them into the turn and capitalize on it.
It takes a lot of time for small return.
Yeah, but you at least get some return out of it, right?
I guess. I mean, and they could also just not dodge, in which case they torps too. But like, the best way for you to go out and be impactful is for your team to kind of lock somebody down or to assist you in getting that ammo into the target. Otherwise, I mean, at best, you're kind of crowd controlling. Like, you're just kind of stunning, the enemy ship because they're not really doing anything. They're just kind of dealing with you at the moment.
Deadliest Idiot just resubscribed for 13 months.
I think what it comes down to, like you said, the question you were asked is what is the best weapon you have.
Zath.
I think the best weapon you still have is like if you're in the USNCV, you have your dive bombers. That's the single best thing you have. If you're not in a USNCV, then the answer is teammates.
For anti-destroyer work, you mean?
Yeah, for anti-destroyer work.
Yeah, I mean the Germans have the torpedoes.
Are amazing on a midway. These torpedoes are not that much better than hack torpedoes. And even if you hit with your torpedo into the destroyer, like they don't have damage. You need like 5 or 6 torpedo hits to kill a destroyer.
I just have to say, those shells are so floaty.
Yeah, you're watching the crazy. Like I said, I knew it was going to be a ridiculous game as soon as I saw it was a Colbert game. But, hey.
So what I think is, like, right now, you have to have good awareness when you play a CV to realize if a destroyer is actually a threat, if you shouldn't waste the time to spot the destroyer, or if you can just let it go for the moment and do something to help your team, and otherwise, aka get damage done on something.
Well, I mean, think about literally the games that we just played. I was in a midway. There was a DD up in the north, there's a DD down in the south, and it's like, I can't guarantee that I can deal with this. I can waste the DD's time, I can waste my time, but I can't guarantee that I can do something here. So if I'm gonna spend, a minute and a half going over to find a Z44 or a Z46 that all I'm really gonna do is piss off, then it's much better for me to do something that I know is going to be impactful. But like when I was asking Zath, hey, can you go to the north, because I could light the Z for him and then we could force an interaction. That's different.
Right.
I think Gandalf the Grey in chat says, what I hear is I can't do this by myself anymore, or I can't do this all by myself anymore, which is part of the problem. CVs could do it all solo, and it really kind of is a thing. People complain the CV can spot for itself, it can shoot for itself, it can get kills for itself. Well,
Yep.
now it's really battleships, but they can take the hits. Cruisers can kind of dodge, and DDs are more protected.
Right.
There is one problem to this though, that people still people kind of expect the CV to do all that shit by themselves.
Of course they do, because that's what they're used to right now. So
They'll learn.
I mean, I've had this.
Yeah, sure.
I've had the same experience grinding the Schultz in ranked. I had people expecting me to be up front and, blah blah blah. So I mean, like, it takes a while for people to understand what the new changes are to the game and how to react to them. You, the player who's very active in knowing what's going on and plays the game a ton and has a lot of experience, you're probably going to be able to adapt to that change a lot quicker than people who just come and play the game casually, log in, play a few games, once or twice a week or something. Like, case in point, that FDR player that said, why aren't my rockets firing?
Yeah, he said he had left on the previous dockyard, so he was saying like, what in the hell is this? No, another rocket shot. I only shot 3. No, go into your detailed thing, look at how many rockets you did shoot. I shot 160. What? So yeah, it's gonna take a while for this to filter out. And like the same thing happened with the German CVs. They came out, they sucked against destroyers, and yet people are like, CV, why didn't you kill the destroyers? They were over there, why didn't you handle it?
Yep.
So people learn slowly, but they'll get there.
And the frustration part, of course, is you know it, they don't, and by the time they know it, they're not going to remember that interaction that they had with you, and calling you, names and stuff like that because you didn't do what they expected you to do, because the game didn't play that way. So,
It's not a position I would want to be in a cold war right now.
No, it's not. But wow.
That is holy.
Well, part of the reason why players complain and whine right now, Raining, in my opinion, is because they haven't had the time to learn yet. And so for them, it's different. I don't know why it's different. I'm upset. I would liken it to, imagine, I'm going to use a teacher metaphor here or scenario, but, how fair would it be if I were to give my students a test, and I would give them a test in a format that they've never seen before without having any practice ahead of time, other than maybe me saying it once in class, oh, by the way, I'm changing up your format. Instead of having four question multiple choice, now each of your multiple choice questions are going to have 8 possibilities, and one is going to be real close, just one word is going to change and make it wrong. I mean, the initial response from my students is going to be, you bastard teacher, I hate you, right? How dare you do that to me? Yes, teachers do that, unfortunately. Damn right they do, Deadliest, right? And what happens? Over time, the students will be forced to adapt over multiple test periods, but it's going to take a few test periods for that adaptation to occur, right? That's just how it is. I had a geography professor in college who gave a test. There were 3 blanks. You bubbled in a digit 0 through 9 in each of those 3. There were literally 999 possible answers in a booklet. And you had to know what it was. It took out guessing, completely took out guessing, right? You had to know it. And people at first absolutely hated it. But then over time they started saying, this is actually kind of nice because I know if I really understand the material or not. Do I really get it or do I not? And then they turned it into a game, and it became more of a challenge of what can I get out of this, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's where we're at with wargaming. They're changing up the test. Players are trying to figure it out, and they don't necessarily know if it's going to be good or not yet, because they haven't had a chance to adapt and learn from it. And oh my god, what is... Why? Anyway. Select all that
I'm probably biased here, but what pisses me off the most is that this is kind of all handled more or less in uniform for nationwide, without taking into account balance of individual ships. And yes, I'm looking at you, Graf Zeppelin. Why did you have to get a 5-second delay?
I remember.
Weren't you miserably enough with the rockets after the radical changes to the 90-degree flip?
I think actually Graf Zeppelin is a 4. Some people were saying like, well, are they going to change this after it's on the test server? And I mean, the backlash was surprising.
Wargaming published a graphic.
Yeah, I think it said 4 seconds on the Graf Zeppelin. I thought it did. I can double check. I have the pictures.
I have the graphic here too. I saved it. It is.
So every player.
It says 3.9, but it doesn't feel like 3.9.
Okay.
I'll be honest. It feels
sorry.
like 5.
Well, yeah, it should be 4.
It's still too much. Like.
Every player
that's the
has that
fastest
chip.
firing Tiny Tims.
Yeah, but they go everywhere.
That's true. They're terrible.
Every player's got their favorite ship, right? And obviously, Grunty, this is one of your favorites. I don't know that it's your favorite, but I know you loved playing Graf Zeppelin, so.
You can ask even the CV haters out there everywhere. Everybody will probably tell you that the Graf Zeppelin is the worst tier 8 CV in the game.
Now or before?
Before.
Okay.
Now, too.
It's a weird bag of tricks, is what it is. So, you know, it came out in the beginning of the rework, and I'm sure they hadn't quite figured all their stuff out by then.
Oh,
That's a
did
hell
I
of
get
a
the
game.
death pick? Did I get the death pick? Crap.
Oh, you gotta play it again.
I didn't expect him to die that quickly.
Like,
Oh well.
I expect him to win somehow.
I don't think
here.
Wargame is gonna change this whole thing again, but I do hope that they look at ships' performance individually and adjust the delay accordingly.
I mean, I do want to point out the stuff that was on the public test server. The initial response was like, they're not going to change anything. They're not going to whatever. What's here is what's going to go into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think they did change things because people ran time. Tiny Tims used to be 6 seconds, not 5.
Yeah, I did that too.
Curry used to be 5, now it's 4. So they actually like sped up the animation by a second, I think.
Oh,
kind
okay.
of across the board.
I think Hack was 4 on PTS, like from my timing. It's really hard to time, right?
Yeah, but also it got progressively worse as the tiers went up. Now it's not. It's a flat number. So you play a Japanese CV at tier 4, you play a Japanese CV at tier 10. You know, it's the same experience. It's just the planes go a little faster, they do a little more damage, which is probably good from a consistency angle. That'll help the CV players learn. But they could speed up the animation more. I just don't think they're going to do that for like the next probably 2, maybe 3 months. Because they're going to have to see how it shakes out.
It's actually not good that the timers are the same, because that throws off the consistency. Because the planes are faster on a higher tier, which means they cover more time. So if you have the same time delay, that means your lead times change. You need to lead more in the tier 10 than you need to do in the tier 8, just because the planes are faster.
Yeah. So?
I mean, you're leading the target, though. Like, if a tier 4 destroyer goes 35 knots and a tier 10 destroyer goes 35 knots, like, you're technically leading the same amount.
No, because my planes cover a higher distance during the 4 seconds they take to attack too. So I need to initiate the run a little bit sooner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Meat Pie Man, pretty much anything that's got HE bombers, generally people consider to be best against destroyers. And why is this not... Do I have to do this every replay now? Turning on the alternate battle interface? That's not going to be annoying. Yeah, I know we have to get into Stream Raiders, but I want to make sure we're done talking about CVs before we do, so... Is this a I Love CV stream? No. Not by any means, Ziphead.
Just for me to recap, I think it has made clan battles a little different. It made the Richthofen more or less consistent. It technically made the Audacious more of a viable pick if we end up seeing DD comps. And I hear EU has been seeing DD comps, so no ideas if they're actually doing that. I think NA is more to the double battleship thing at this point. But it sucks to be nerfed. It does, but I'm adjusting, and I still believe that it's good for the health of the game. I think it's a healthier interaction. I'm glad they did it, but that doesn't mean it's not frustrating.
Yep. And let's remember, if it doesn't work, then Wargaming will tweak it. That's what they've always done. I mean, they said the same thing when the CV rework originally happened, and I know it's still a work in progress, but no kidding.
I know I switched my playstyle up. Like I'm going less for destroyers. I'm not trying to spot them as much anymore either. I switched more to a damage strategy.
That's interesting.
I only go for the destroyers if I actually have to.
Because I would almost think you'd do the opposite. You would go more for spotting now, since you're not doing the damage as much.
I don't trust.
You could still battle. You can still damage. You can still damage battleships and cruisers, not DDs.
My hack has always been a drop build, which is what I've been playing mostly. I play the Immelmann, which doesn't have the rockets to begin with.
Right.
And well, my Graf Zeppelin is Port Queen.
If that's true, Immelmann is actually probably in a better shape now. I mean, compared to the other carriers, simply because the skip bombers can still hit destroyers.
It covers a niche that is now open, so it does kind of like fit as a specialty on the ship, but it's still a requirement that you really need to be dropping broadside DDs, which comes back to the power of teamwork. So it's not an I win button, because it can be pretty finicky, but yeah, it probably is now the most terrifying CV for a DD to deal with, I guess.
No, it's still midway. Midway dive bombers are better than Immelmann.
I just think they're not consistent enough, so meh.
Well, neither is the Immelmann, right? If you just turn in, you hit with one bomb at maximum with an Immelmann.
Yeah, I mean, it still does damage, and I mean, you could even make the same argument for FDR, right? Because when FDR bombers hit destroyers, you know, they cry. for good reason. I mean, it takes a ton of their health down, so... regardless, you know, this is still in the early stages. It's the first patch that we've seen the change, and I think we've got more to go before we can make a decision or not. But I think 6 months from now it'll be interesting to have that discussion again, to check back in. Was it a good change or not? Hell, 6 months from now, is it still going to be there?
6 months, the CV numbers will be down.
I don't think so, because Soviet CVs might be out by then. I'm assuming they're coming out at like 2 to 4 patches.
That will not increase overall numbers. It will just make the existing CV players play a different nation.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in.
Maybe for the Russian server, but I don't think in NA or on EU that new nation of CVs is gonna make more people play CVs. That's not how it works.
We'll have to see.
Just real quick, I'm pretty sure Zath wants to stream Raiders, but whenever you're going to have an event, like the US battleship event, suddenly you see US battleships everywhere for the next 3 to 4 months. Why? Because it's the new thing. It's cool. People like playing it, whatever. It puts it out there in the thing. Well, Soviet CVs are going to come out. CV players, non-CV players, it's the new thing. People be excited. You're going to see people playing it.
I'll be playing it
to interest.
I'll be playing it just to grind the line.
I give you that in general, but I think for CV it's a little bit different, because like there are people who will just not touch CVs in general because they don't like them, and they are not gonna try them out. Whereas on a regular line, the hurdle to get to play them is much lower.
Quick, Zath, run!
All right. Well, sensing a natural pause in the conversation, I think now's a good opportunity to stop our discussion about CVs so far and how things are going. But of course, we will always check in on them again in a few months. And like God, I don't remember if it was Ahskance or Grunty mentioned that the Russian carriers are coming out. Hey, we'll definitely be talking about that at some point, I'm sure. So, let's go to Stream Raiders. And thanks everybody for being involved in that chat. It's always fun just being able to sit and talk about what's going on without worrying about people getting angry with each other and you know, screaming and gnashing of teeth and all that. So, all right, guys, 30-second ad, start battle, and then we'll move on to our next topic. Here we go. Oh, and right, the 2 people that end up with kills in this battle are gonna win a CC container. That's right.
So good luck, have fun.
The Tokyo
The odds
Drift.
be ever in your favor.
Wow, that was
feel like
fast.
Yeah, these guys just got owned.
May the power of Sith compel
I have a
you.
question. How can I get 5 assists with 2 enemies to kill?
Because
yes.
you assisted 5 people, like you were using one of your. Did you bring in a healer or something?
Yes, I have a monk.
That's why you were healing multiple people.
Ah. Oh, the other thing I was
But-
thinking is, it could be that each of these units assisted 1 kill, and then 2 of them assisted the other kill. So that might be
That
how you
could
got
be too.
5.
Let's just fix facts. Even dirty CV players break other games.
And you know, here's my epic, my great banner dude just chilling with. Nah, he didn't help.
Assists are so weird in this game and how they profit. Like, you can throw in a healer and he'll hold the whole team and you get 0 assists, and you ask yourself, how the fuck is this calculated?
Yep. All right, Grunty, do you want
Those
Centurion or do you want the
no
Rogue?
mongoose in Classic Lib, huh?
Rogue.
Flying Rogue. All right.
Is that who
My
it was?
second
No
level
mongoose
30.
in Classic Lib?
Classic and Snow Mongoose. You got it.
Alright, guys, whisper me. I have presents for you.
And then Classic gets 2. He gets the other. Wow. All right, boss defeated. Things to do here. What do I? Oh, I can unlock the Balloon Buster.
Why are you not using your spells, by the way, Seth?
Does he have any yet?
Don't know how to.
Yeah. You
Go to
click
Captain Spells up top. No, go back
I-
to your army.
Okay. I'm at my army.
Okay, Captain Spells up top. Click on that.
Oh! Well, what do you know?
The more you know.
So I guess I should just unlock. Oh, I can't. Did I run out of...
Unlock everyone. The upgrades are actually not that great. It's always mostly a half a second longer duration.
Okay.
He's got to get more spell books first.
Yeah. So what do I do with them?
Before you start the battle, it asks you to place a spell, and you can place that anywhere on the battle field, and it has a certain area it affects, and units that are in that area get the buff
Oh,
or
okay.
debuff depending on what spell you use.
It's a game within a game, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So Kitten, where do you recommend I go? Should I go for the question mark or go for the 4 skull dude?
Always go for the question mark.
All right.
Always
so...
go for the blue chest.
The
Yeah,
what?
it's on the
Oh.
way to the gold chest anyway, but... Oh, you gotta start first with, the first battle. You just did a boss, so yeah, I would start... It doesn't matter which one of the first ones you start with, but
Okay.
the route I would take...
Oh.
I would go up there, try to head up towards that blue chest, honestly.
Okay. Well, I can still make that path.
I think blue chest is the most valuable, followed by green chest.
So how do I
Yeah,
go to...
so-
How do I go to edit spell now? Do I...
You
No,
can
no,
only
no.
place it right before the battle starts.
Oh, okay. Got it. So it'll be up here. It'll say, do you want to use it?
Pretty much.
Okay. And do I get it? Is it like a one-time use kind of a deal, or are they consumables, or do they
No,
like...
no. You use it every battle.
Ah. Okay.
It's
It's
just
just
like an extra
for your
unit you
raiders.
place.
Got it.
Yeah.